Blackstone Audio presents The Last of the Doughboys, The Forgotten Generation and Their Forgotten World War, by Richard Rubin. This book is read by Grover Gardner. Dedication to them and those they represent. Prologue. No Man's Land. Before the New Age and the New Frontier and the New Deal, before Roy Rogers and John Wayne and Tom Mix, before Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse and Felix the Cat, before the TVA and TV and radio and the Radio Flyer, before the Grapes of Wrath and Gone with the Wind and the Jazz Singer, before the CIA and the FBI and the WPA, before airlines and airmail and air conditioning, before LBJ and JFK and FDR, before the Space Shuttle and Sputnik and the Hindenburg and the Spirit of St. Louis, before the Greed Decade and the Me Decade and the Summer of Love and the Great Depression and Prohibition, before yuppies and hippies and Okies and flappers, before Saigon and Incheon and Nuremberg and Pearl Harbor and Weimar, before Ho and Mao and Chung, before MP3s and CDs and LPs, before Martin Luther King and Thurgood Marshall and Jackie Robinson, before the pill and Pampers and penicillin, before GI surgery and G.I. Joe and the GI Bill, before AFDC and HUD and welfare and Medicare and Social Security, before superglue and titanium and lucite, before the Sears Tower and the Twin Towers and the Empire State Building and the Chrysler Building, before the In Crowd and the A-Train and the Lost Generation, before the Blue Angels and Rhythm and Blues and Rhapsody in Blue, before Tupperware and the refrigerator and the automatic transmission and the aerosol can and the Band-Aid and nylon and the ballpoint pen and sliced bread, before the Iraq War and the Gulf War and the Cold War and the Vietnam War and the Korean War and the Second World War, there was the First World War, World War I, the Great War, the war to end all wars. It wasn't the biggest Veterans Day parade in New England or in Massachusetts, or even on Cape Cod for that matter. In fact, it was rather modest. A handful or two of old soldiers and sailors in uniform, a half-dozen large flags, a few cars, a couple of cops on motorcycles, and a fife and drum corps comprising 2 or 3 dozen area school children dressed like Continental soldiers and playing Revolutionary War-era tunes. There were short speeches at the...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?